Hello and welcome back to Lessons in Love. Can you believe that this is season 4? If you are brand new here, you have so much goodness to catch up on. If you are up to date, if you're familiar with Lessons in Love, then I know that you've been waiting for this big return. And I really know that this series is not going to disappoint. So make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you're getting the notifications because I have so many incredible guests this season. I've literally been having conversations with people where I've been like, this kind of similar message keeps coming through for this series. I'm not going to give that away. You'll hear it as it starts to come up. In fact, I think I might mention it literally next week. But yeah, a really clear message is coming through. In fact, maybe I'll do a solo episode on that. But anyway, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I really mean it. This podcast, Lessons in Love, is for you. This is for those of you that are on a current mission to heal your relationship wounding, to heal your attachment wounds. Perhaps you've been learning about attachment theory and you are ready. You're ready to choose a healthy relationship because your mind and body is going to be more attuned to recognize who and what is good for you when you start to do this work. I know that you're ready for that. This is for those of you that know you lose yourself in those moments of despair, of jealousy, of rejection, times when you internalize things that I know you want to be able to stay aligned to yourself in those moments. And it's for those of you that really want to bring peace and joy to your relationships, the relationship you have with yourself, with your partner, with people that you date, rather than the drama, the accusations, that unprocessed pain that really can come through for people who struggle and feel insecure when it comes to love and relationships. So if you are brand new to attachment theory, attachment styles, then I would actually recommend that you go and listen to my podcast that introduces attachment theory. You can listen to that after this episode. I'll actually just link it so you can have a listen to that. And that's just going to give you a really nice introduction. Over on my YouTube channel, I'll link to that as well for you. You'll find episodes or videos on helping you to heal avoidant, anxious attachment, and really understanding that in more detail. And there's so much more coming. So yeah, just check those out. That's what I would recommend. But I want to start with a key message. It's actually in the introduction to this, but I want to start by just reminding you that you are not crazy. You are not too much. In those moments where you feel crazy, needy, or too much, something happens in those moments where you lose your sense of self and you act out of character. It is your responsibility to learn how to manage these moments. It is your responsibility to know how to stay in alignment with yourself as much as possible anyway, because you're human. But I do want you to know that it's not your fault. And it's not I've really got to be clear, that's not taking away your responsibility, but it's not your fault. You know, if we really look and dig deep, of course you react this way. It will be based on your experiences. Something has happened where in these moments you will leave yourself, or where relationships are particularly challenging for you, or bring out those fears of abandonment, fears of rejection. So that's really important just to know. And one of the reasons I say that is because I get so many messages, perhaps if someone's found my podcast or they've read a blog and it says, thank you for letting me know I'm not on my own. Thank you for making me realize I'm not crazy. So I want to make sure that that's really clear before we dive in. So what I am going to be talking to you about today is, what does it really take to heal attachment and relationship wounds. How do we actually do that? And I'm just going to outline the foundations in my experience, professionally and personally, because you guys know I get it. I get this experience, what it really takes, and just some of the branches of healing those attachment wounds, because there are plenty, there really are. But we can be quite clear, and I believe that you'll know which parts speak to you, so you'll know what your next level is and where you want to go after this episode. If I'm working with people, it's very clear. Everyone's different. Like where you are on your journey is not the same to everyone else. And so you can't compare yourself. And that's why I always say with my clients, yes, I work through certain pillars. And yes, I have these certain foundations that I'm going to talk to you about today, but I meet you where you are. And so I ask you to do the same. Just meet yourself where you are. You don't know what you don't know. You didn't know what you didn't know before listening to this episode, or whatever other education and learning you've been doing recently. Now, in that sense, we're all very different. There's an element where we're not different, okay? And I really want you to hear this, because I remember really clearly, because attachment wounds are difficult to shift, it is hard to heal those wounds and correct them and become secure. So we can feel like it's impossible because it takes time, because we still go in and out of the old patterns. So we can feel like it's not working. So the message I want to be really clear on is that you can heal. We know that people can move into a more secure attachment. We know that people can heal their nervous systems. We know it. Okay. And so can you. So you don't have to judge yourself. It's your inner critic saying that you can't, or it's a waste of time. It is worth it. Okay. So just wanted to put that out there because they're really important points. So let me go through a few different points that I really believe, when it comes to healing attachment wounds, is going to help you on your journey to becoming secure. So I wouldn't say these are in any particular order. Perhaps it will, like I say, it depends on where you're at. It depends on what's speaking to you. But there are some elements, and I'll explain that as I go, that are absolutely going to help the others to flourish as well. What's amazing is that the research into healing attachments has come a really, really long way. We used to not really know much more than the theory. It was clear that attachment styles are formed. It was clear that some people can experience a lot of insecurity and upset and pain when it comes to relationships. And what was less clear is how to heal that, and can we become more secure? And now it's much, much clearer. So this is a good time to be doing this work. There are a lot of modalities out there, and that can sometimes be confusing, especially for those of you that are doing self-help. So that means that you're not doing this with a coach or a therapist or anything like that, which, by the way, I highly, highly recommend having a coach and or a therapist. For sure, that is when my experiences really started to take a turn. So I am all for that. You'll see why that is in a moment as well. But yeah, we really do know. And for me, these different modalities is a combination based on my professional experience, because I've got a background in cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm trained as an intuitive body coach. So it's a lot of combining for me, sort of up-to-date methods to help us understand ourselves and form those more secure relationships with ourselves. So really with me, I'm looking at a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy. So really looking at that mindset work, emotional intelligence. So how do we communicate ourselves? How do we respond to ourselves when we feel intense emotion without it spilling out sideways and causing more problems for ourselves? My intuitive body coaching, which is very much about present moment living, self-discovery, really getting to know yourself on a new level, your identity and who you are, so that you can stop losing yourself in relationships and basing your self-worth outside of you. Inner child work, and I'm currently adding a new string to the bow, which is around somatics work. So really about getting to know your body, because that is where trauma and pain is stored. And so we have to heal that if we really want to. You know what we can be quite good at doing? We can be quite good at starting to fix, for lack of a better word, fix, don't like that, but I said it, the outside world. So, okay, I'm not going to reach out to that person. I'm not going to have that outburst. I'm going to hold this back. They're not going to know I feel this way. So maybe, yeah, you're coming across less needy if that's your goal. You're coming across as being that cooler individual, but you know what? Your internal world is absolute chaos still. You are still thinking about them nonstop. It's taking everything in you, and you're not able to focus on your own life. And that's the difference. We don't just want to sort out the internal world so that we look better for other people. We want our internal world to be more peaceful. And that is what I'm all about. So a combination of these different modalities can really help. Understanding the healing process is really important as well. Just before I do give you some top tips that you can have that's really going to help you. But you know, the healing process. So what I see a lot of the time, especially if you're new to this work, is a lot of judgment on yourself of why it's taking so long, or if you continue to trip. We will continue to trip. That's what is going to happen for you, because that's what we see. That's the pattern of healing these wounds. We don't just go like better, up, up, better, better, better. It's like better, trip over, better, trip, better, trip. And so that's why we have to be really tuned in to those slightest improvements that we're seeing, because they're going to give us the confidence. They're going to give us the proof that this is working. Because if you're just hoping to just suddenly feel worthy, or suddenly have that perfect relationship, or not feel jealousy, you're probably going to be in for some disappointment. So this is all about incremental change. This is small changes that we help you to make. And it's from there that you start to see bigger, more transformational change. So notice these small shifts that you're making. And this is why, because it is a slower process, healing attachment wounds, relationships is one of the most important elements of our lives from the moment that we're born. So of course it comes with pain and challenges and difficulties along the way, unless we know how to bring ourselves back home, bring ourselves back to love, bring ourselves back to the beauty of relationships. So that's why it goes so deep, and it's so unconscious, a lot of what we're living out, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we see relationships, love, other people. It goes really deep, and it's a process. And that's why I have to say to you, the sooner you get started, the better. Really, like the sooner that you, especially getting help along the way, a community, my community, I have a membership it's the membership for attachment styles and rediscovering yourself. Joining that community, you know, meeting people who are in this with you, to know that you're not alone, and to make these small changes, and to celebrate those tiny shifts that other people don't understand, that other people think that you're still dating this wrong person and giving the wrong person time. And you know you are as well. But you also know that, you know what, I didn't reach out to them. I didn't let them come around just whenever they wanted to. I did give them my opinion. You do see the small shifts. I know how hard and difficult those small shifts are, and we have to celebrate them. Yes, you want to just be able to walk away and leave it completely. You're going to get there. And noticing these smaller shifts are going to help you get there quicker. Okay, so the sooner you start, the better. But also, let's point out, it's never too late to start. Okay, I work with women of all ages. It's never too early, and it's never too late to start. Okay. Let's go through then a few, I don't really know what to call them, a few tips, a few elements that are going to help you, that are at the core of the work that I do. So if you do join the membership, for example, or if you work with me or have worked with me, then you're going to recognize these already. And if you want to come into the membership, then I will link all of that. You can see all of that in the bio. But the first is self-compassion. I honestly, the amount of times I say to my clients, this is without judgment, no judgment on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Let's not dismiss this feeling. Let's not judge this. Let's offer yourself kindness. I'm like a broken record, and I am not apologetic about that. Not at all. Because I truly believe in my heart and soul that at the core of becoming more secure is being able to offer yourself love and compassion. And I understand that that in itself is a process if you're used to criticizing yourself, if you're used to giving yourself a hard time. But offering yourself love and compassion on this journey, especially as well for where you have been, for your experiences so far, that includes what has got you here. That includes not judging yourself for your insecurities and thinking that, you know, putting other people on a pedestal, thinking that you're too much hard work. I'm too hard to love. You know, that really keeps you stuck, and it's not true. Your experiences make you who you are. They make you incredibly special. And offering yourself that understanding. And like I said earlier, that understanding of course you feel this way. Of course you have these experiences. Of course you've behaved that way. It makes a lot of sense when you understand this wounding and how it can show up in our lives and our relationships. So giving yourself a hard time about your experiences isn't going to help. That also includes if you've messed up. So perhaps if your anxiety has got the better of you, you sabotaged a relationship. Perhaps if you did avoid a relationship that you now look back and realize that probably could have been something. This is about saying we don't need to go into the shoulda, woulda, couldas in your relationships. And let's not forget as well, just whilst I do say that, so that we're not increasing the chance of you blaming yourself. There were two of you. If we're talking about relationships, there were two of you. And again, of course, you reacted. Okay. So it's not about internalizing and self-blame. It's about a whole lot of self-compassion and understanding, and including as you move forward on your journey, because you're not going to get it perfect. You're still going to experience difficult and challenging moods and unhelpful thoughts, and getting frustrated and angry at yourself and thinking that you're not healing good enough is just another way to criticize yourself. So self-compassion, that is to give yourself understanding, that is to give yourself love, that is to not judge yourself, especially when you are going through something difficult. When you're going through challenging times, that's a time that you need love. It's not a time that you need criticizing. The next element is to be able to remain present. So this is around really bringing in tools and methods and present moment living into your day. Okay, so that you can respond in your relationships. You're going to give yourself much more of a chance of being able to respond in a way in your relationships that is aligned with who you are. So that means without either really excessive anxiety when you're activated and triggered, and that means without that excessive panic where you lose yourself and act out of character and say things and do things that aren't who you are. And it means without excessive avoiding. So when you are faced with your personal triggers, when you are faced with a current attachment figure that you cannot stop thinking about, you can't let go of, you are completely stuck on, when you're afraid to put yourself out there because you freeze, and we can freeze in that happy single bubble in the face of those triggers that you don't avoid anymore. And what's going to help you to do that is present moment living, to be able to live in the moment. Because otherwise, if we're not in the moment, when we're having that, severe anxiety and avoiding in the face of our relationships, usually it's because we are very much not present. And if you really struggle to be present, that is something, if you have a coach that is helping you with attachment wounds, part of that process is absolutely going to be helping you to be able to come to terms with time by yourself, to be going inward so that that internal world isn't so chaotic, and that you can get to know yourself on a brand new level, because for some reason, perhaps that hasn't happened yet. The next, and self-compassion and being able to remain present, they're going to help with this hugely, hugely. And this is the ability to regulate, to be able to regulate your emotions when they take over, when you become hijacked by jealousy, by anger, by sadness, to be able to, rather than leave yourself in those moments, because remember, when we are activated, when we want to avoid, or when that anxiety takes over in our relationships, you do leave yourself. I want you to know that you leave yourself. You're not present in those moments, and you're unable to tolerate the feeling. You're unable to tolerate this experience. I don't know why that is, because I don't know you individually. But I know that that's what happens. It's that the feeling goes to a level that feels out of control for you. And that's when we do all of the things to try and regulate ourselves, but usually they are not helpful things. So that might be when you're doing the reaching out, the shouting, the sulking, the avoiding. It's in those moments when we really want you to be able to remain engaged. We want you to be able to continue to be social with this person in your relationships and with yourself, to support yourself to come back to a balanced state. And you don't have, the thing is about regulating, it's not about regulating so that you never feel and it's never so intense, because like I said, you're human. But what it is about is, it's about, well, is there a chance I can stop it going to that level? And is there a chance that I can bring my self back sooner? So when I am hijacked by emotion, when I am unable to communicate and I freeze, or I'm acting out, can I bring myself back quicker? And that's what we want to help you to do, is to be able to extend your ability to handle your feelings. So if you know that you get really jealous and that's when you sulk and cause a fight with your partner, or if someone cancels on you and you absolutely internalize that and make it all about what they think about you, and you can't control that, and so then you end up just canceling dates altogether, and I don't want to see you at all. If you know that you act out in these ways, then that's a signal for you that learning how to regulate is going to do you absolute wonders for you and for your relationships. I really, really mean it. Because as well, let me just say, it is also about repairing. So a lot of the when I'm working with someone, it's not just about how can I, obviously the ideal world is, how can I stop doing these things? How can I be perfect and never react? But secure people react. Okay, let's put that out there. It's about the repair. It's about, are you choosing relationships where the two of you will repair together afterwards? What happened? Is there any way we can stop this happening again? And if there isn't another person, and obviously most importantly, can you do that with yourself before someone else? Can you repair with yourself what happened? How did it come to that? And how can I help myself now to prevent it happening again? And again, self-compassion will help that with that. The next is to build trust and an inner relationship. So if you can begin to build trust with yourself and a relationship with yourself, it's time to quit avoiding the number one relationship. If you are an overthinker, if you are an obsessor, if you are constantly thinking outside of you and needing that outside validation, then I have to tell you, it's time to go inwards. It's time to face your inner experience. It's time to get to know yourself. It's time to show up in the world in a way that serves you. Who are you? What is your space in this world? And it's time to come home to that. And we do that through building trust, starting to say yes to ourselves, starting to do the things that we've not allowed ourselves to do, start to walk away from the things that don't serve us, to treat ourselves in a way that we keep dreaming of treating ourselves. You can do that in small steps, you know, to just build trust with yourself, say yes to yourself. The next is, and it is actually, I considered just grouping it in with self-compassion, but I have to say I wanted it separate for a reason, as I'll explain. So self-love, I wanted to talk to you about self-love and validation. And I really mean it in the sense of loving yourself, of praising yourself, of being there for yourself. Because I have news for you. The amount of love that you think you need from someone else is what you need from yourself. So let me say that again. The amount of love that you think you need from someone else is what you need from you. So that moment when you lay there, perhaps even crying sometimes, really truly believing the only thing that could help me right now, the only thing that could make me happy is if I had this person, is if I'd met this person yet, or if this person would come back, or if my partner would show up in the way that I expect them to or want them to. You need something from yourself in those moments. If it hurts that much, if it's that intense, there is some self-love missing. There is the validation from yourself. I'm not saying you don't need it from other people. I'm saying this is a sign, though, that you really need it from yourself in this moment. That moment is when we need to reframe it for you. And just that simple acknowledgement, because please, let's not underestimate the power of acknowledgement. If you are in my courses, if you work with me, you know I say that all the time. A simple acknowledgement that, okay, maybe if I feel this way, that's a sign that I need to go inwards. Maybe that is a sign that I need a little bit of love from myself right now. That could take you from a 10 to a 9 on that severity of panic and anxiety and despair. And we all know that that 10 to a 9 can be a big improvement. That can be what it takes us to get up out of bed and give ourselves some water, okay? So self-love and validation, that's a big one. I like how I chose water of everything, but we need water. And if you just stay in bed or if you hide away and you don't look after yourself, you might not meet your basic needs. That is what I mean by that. The next I want to touch on is forming secure bonds. And this is why I talk a lot about, I really believe in the power of having a coach or a therapist. You know, it can be a secure partner, it can be a secure friend, but tuning into the secure bonds that you do have. Okay, this can really help you to begin to co-regulate. I am going to talk to you on some forum soon. I'll figure it out about regulating ourselves and what that looks like. But with co-regulating, it is when we are with someone else to help us regulate our emotions as well. And we need that. It gives us a sense of connection. It gives us a sense of safety. And when you're able to start to have evidence of a secure bond and see, and most importantly, feel what that is like, that is going to help you to look at other relationships, and it's going to have a ripple effect into other relationships, especially when you are doing this consciously, when you're making a conscious effort to form more secure bonds with people that you can build up trust with, that you can feel safe and calm around. And yes, that's those people that might give you that boring feeling. That's what we have to get attuned with. That feeling that we sometimes see as really safe and boring is secure. So that's what we want to become attuned with, and we can begin to find that exciting. So don't be put off and think you've got to say goodbye to chemistry and excitement in all your relationships, because that is not the case. So There you have it. What I really wanted for you from this episode is really just to carry on from introducing attachment styles to you and attachment theory, and just get really clear on some truths behind healing attachment wounds, because I know the traps that we can fall into. And then just to give you a bit of an outline of what we can, the foundations and those key elements that are going to help you on your journey to becoming secure, because I don't want you to forget that you absolutely 100% can become secure. If this episode has spoken to you in any way, please share it. Please give other people who are also experiencing an insecure attachment, insecure in difficulties and troubles with the relationship with themselves and with others, please give them a chance of finding this podcast. So if you've taken anything away from this, then what I ask for you as an energy exchange is to please share this and spread the message of Lessons in Love. This is a podcast and this is a community for attachment styles and really helping you to rediscover yourself. Like I said, series 4 is brilliant. I have recorded all but one of the guests and I know that you're going to love it. I can't wait for you to hear what's to come. Do not forget, you're enough, you are lovable, and you are so, so worthy.